fentanyl.
Fuck, I gotta pee. Go to the start. We already watched the start, I thought.
Okay. So if you've watched any of the news reports, because you were full of knowledge 5 minutes ago.
No.
Well, it's my thing there.
We saw all
this. Like
this.
misenforcement, people in your field. What's different in your case is what I want to know. Like, what is different? How did it get into your system? Wind doesn't blow fent into people's faces. That is not an occurrence. It has to go into your mucous membrane, and it had to be a significant amount. So, like, you're being like salty about it. And like, if I have compassion, if that actually happened to you, but I would need clarity because what is being said is not accountable at all. And it hurts people. If you are here to serve people and to protect people, you need to understand what this propaganda does, because it hurts those of us with substance use disorder, and it hurts people who are ODing, and then people are less effective because they're scared that they're going to die from touching fentanyl. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I have compassion for having a response to something that is terrifying. It's scary. Like, can you honestly tell me that you have no fear about fent? Like, there's no fear about it at all, and none of that was psychosomatic? Like, you're telling me 100% that it's just wind blew it into your face? Honestly?
I can answer one of your 20 questions you just asked?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is what happened on a routine traffic stop that I've done many times before. I'm a narcotics-based officer. I deal with narcotics anywhere from fentanyl to methamphetamine, anything, almost every shift. I do that is my purpose and my job. I am a narcotics-based officer. I have had many trafficking arrests to include 28 grams plus of fentanyl. Never had an anxiety attack. I've never had a panic attack, nor have I ever had fear when it comes to handling large amounts of fentanyl, because I know the precautions to take.
Is it just me, or is it kind of funny that like this propaganda thing is taking up half the fucking screen? Meanwhile, he's talking to this cop, right? And she's like in the tiny corner over here. I don't know why I find that very funny. Like, he was just like so disrespectful in this TikTok where he's just like, yeah, fuck her.
Gloves, you don't take a bath in it. You handle it the proper way. When we test it, we go to safe locations to test it. That night, it was very windy here. We did not test it on the side of the road. When I found it, it was located on the subject's person. When finding that, we barely opened the dollar bill, which is what it was rolled up into. We found white powder. It was sealed back up into the dollar bill that it was in, dropped into an evidence bag. I do not know, and I've said this on news articles, I never stated from my mouth that the wind blew it up and made me overdose. That has not been stated. That is misinformation.
Okay, so how'd you OD then?
What has been stated was, due to the high winds, there is nothing stating that the powder, as we all know, we've been here talking about how everybody knows what fentanyl is. The small powder form got on my sleeves. It could have gotten on my vest. So then when I enter my vehicle and I sit down and my vest is now here, or if it's on my sleeves and I wipe my face with something that I have gloves on, if I wipe my face here, there is nothing stating that it is not inhaled. I cannot properly say that, hey, I put it in my mouth, because I don't know if I wiped my nose. I don't know. Did I wipe my forehead?
Oh my God. Wait a minute. Are cops just addicted to fent? Is that the real undercover story here that we were not even aware of? Cops are just doing key bumps of fent every time they fucking do traffic stops? Free taste? Is that what's going on? Oh my God. Wait a minute. But like, no. Her reaction was not consistent with like a fentanyl overdose, though. Not if that was the case, then you would watch them. If that was the case, one, they would develop a higher tolerance for it. Two, their symptoms would be consistent with a fent overdose. It's definitely more. It's consistent with a panic attack instead. Yeah, I don't think you can get high on fentanyl that quickly, even by snorting it. There's a simple question that could end all debate. Did she test positive on the Utox screen after going to the hospital? Why isn't this getting mentioned? Because she probably tested clean on the Utox. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If they like, don't they test for this stuff? Like, I assume they test for it, right? Now, cocaine leaves your system fairly quickly, but still takes a while. Like, if you're in the hospital immediately afterwards, I can't. I don't know how long fentanyl stays in your bloodstream, but cocaine takes around, at the minimum, if you're like pissing like a fucking racehorse, I think it's like, you say it's up to 3 days, but I think it can leave your system in 24 hours, depending on how well you fucking flush it. But that's still, that's not 3 hours where you go to the hospital. And I can't speak for fentanyl because I don't know. No, it's dose dependent. Fent is supposed to be more potent, but short acting. Shorter than heroin, but not as much as cocaine. If you use it every day, it's a lot longer than that. So she accidentally got it in her mouth, got numb, and had a panic attack. Yeah, that might be what happened, but it's definitely, like I said, the things that don't make sense here is that her symptoms were not consistent with someone who was overdosing on fentanyl. Okay? Her symptoms were consistent with someone who was having a panic attack.
I don't know. I can tell you when I sat in the car, and that's when I started to lose consciousness when I went to go drive away. That is all recorded on body cam. It is still under investigation, so not everything can be released.
Okay, well, look, see, the thing is I'm not here to vilify you, or I want to be clear on that. Like, I get very defensive of the community of substance users. I like the vibe that you have, just even.
He's like, come on, if you're a substance user, if you're a cool cop, I'll defend you. He's like, I get the vibe that you're a cool cop, having a little fun on the job. Who amongst us hasn't driven under the influence of fentanyl? You know what I mean?
And speaking about narcotics, I'm not with that, quite frankly. But that doesn't matter because I have my own biases, as do like everyone does. But the point I want to make is that if this is true, then you need to show toxicologist reports, because it would be a significant finding, because it's been disproven, is what I'm saying. And this isn't my opinion. I've said it before, I thought that you could totally just touch it in OD. Like, I was like, oh, damn, because I know that it's, micrograms. This is way different than milligrams and grams, you know what I mean? So I understand that. But there's not a single part of you, like, you can say with full confidence, there's not a single part of you that has an anxiety response when you're handling pounds of fent. Like,
I have of 28 grams in prior cases within the last 6 months that I have multiple trafficking amounts of fentanyl cases. I never once have had an anxiety attack over it. I've never had a panic attack when handling excess of 28 grams. I have never suffered from an anxiety or panic attack in my life.
Why is she why is she undermining the panic attack narrative?
And like I said, it's still under investigation, so I can't give the exact details of the weight of the fentanyl that was handled that night. But I can confirm with you, it was not a 28 gram, which I have previously, within the last 6 months, I'm not talking about you, within the last 6 months, handled. I don't have, this is the way, and this is my personality as a cop, my mindset of, if you're afraid of everything, you'll do nothing. I will not live every day being.
What do you mean? Cops are literally afraid of everything. If you're afraid of everything, you can do nothing? Yeah, is that why? Well, I mean, you can't do nothing. If you're afraid of everything as a cop, you just kind of shoot at everything instead,
Afraid. So if I sit here and tell you, oh, am I afraid of fentanyl? No. But I'm not ignorant to the fact that stuff happens. It does. Am I saying that I did everything perfect? I've never said that. Did I say that I possibly could have wiped my nose? I could have wiped my mouth. I could have wiped my eye. 100%. And that is something that, if that happened, it's something that I won't know, because there's no camera facing me, if that makes sense. The camera on my chest. So it's not going to catch what happens up here. I never made an accusation saying that the wind absorbed it and it seeped into my skin. That is not what was ever accused, what was ever said.
Okay, so, I hear you. Look, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from, but my point still stands. Like, if this is true and somehow you've passively OD'd on fent, then this would completely change everything. So it would be your responsibility to provide toxicologist reports and everything that could validate your story. And so the thing is that I respect people's lived experience. Okay, so it's conflicting. Like, when I'm sitting here, I want to respect you and be like, hey, like, you had a traumatic experience. I can acknowledge that. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this information, the idea of passively ODing on fent, is 100% propaganda that is perpetuated by law enforcement agencies such as the DEA, and that it's been disproven, so much so that they're now going out and they're doing training within these, institutions, and they're actually training cops to let them know that you're not going to OD from passively touching it. Now, if you were to get...
She has a filter? Wait, what? Hold on.
Is 100% propaganda that is perpetuated by law enforcement agencies such as the DEA, and that it's been disproven, so much so that they're now going out and they're doing training.
Or did TikTok put it on her? Oh, right here. Wait, hold on. No! No! No, that's TikTok. TikTok did that. That's, oh God, I love fucking new media. It's so stupid. Can you imagine like Anderson Cooper conducting an interview? First of all, of course, it's new media because like Anderson Cooper would never fucking call to question a cop's accounts. Okay? Like obviously. But let's say in an alternate universe where like Anderson Cooper is doing that, and then someone from the audience fucking puts a hat on the cop, dude. Like, I overdosed on fent and I am not a cowboy.
Experience. I can acknowledge.
Get that hat off my head.
That. Well, that doesn't take away from the fact that this propaganda, obviously, but I just don't think that law enforcement understands what this propaganda is doing and how it is rendering people ineffective and actually giving life-saving treatment to people that are overdosing. Like, can you see that aspect? Because I'm a multidimensional person. I can see different people's perspective. I can understand that if you've been around fent a lot, that I maybe believe you that you're not anxious about it, but that doesn't take away from the possibility of having a psychosomatic response, because a lot of this stuff is subconscious. And
Okay.
when we
Dude, he is fucking eating her ass, dude. Holy fuck.
talk about, sorry, let me just say this and I'll shut up. When we talk about like dollar bills specifically, that was the last form of propaganda that was put out, and it was that.
Yeah. The idea that like, watch out for dollar bills on the ground of parking lots because it might have fentanyl in them. Like, and you pick up the dollar bill and then you become immediately addicted to crack. It's like, it's just fucking bullshit. He's killing it.
You better watch out for dollar bills, and I'm sure you probably heard it. And so that to me is fishy as well. If there is misinformation, I think that because it's you and because this is your story, in my opinion, you would need to take that initiative to denounce all of that misinformation and to make it clear that you somehow got it into your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's way different than and I know you're not Fox News, and I know, you know what I'm saying? I know the media.
I love the idea that like addicts who are out there sucking dick for fucking fentanyl are also gonna like somehow leave fentanyl on the ground in a dollar bill. Like, Brace was literally talking about how even after he quit, like even after he fucking went into recovery, he was still like picking up cigarettes off the ground and smoking the not fully fucking smoked ones. Meanwhile, the notion that like an addict would be like, oh, free fent for someone else, love that.
Media works, but it's just it hurts people to spread misinformation about this. Do you see where I'm coming from at all? Because I see where you're coming from, and I understand that if I was in your position and I saw this, I would be like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I totally get that. I just don't think that people are understanding where this is coming from and why I'm defensive of those that are struggling with substances, as someone who's been in recovery for almost 10 years. Like, this is serious. You know what I mean? But I said I would shut up.
Bro, all true smokers burn butts, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, no, not me, okay? Not me, motherfucker. I'm not picking up a fucking butt off the ground and relighting it, okay? I never had to do that, luckily. That's a crazy fucking take, by the way. The idea that like every smoker has done that. No, that's just a self-report. You know what I mean? It's like saying every Hasanabi chatter watches the fucking top of the hour ad break. Like,
let me let you talk.
So I agree with what you were saying. If we were dealing with pharmaceutical grade fentanyl, I'm not sure where you're from, and be completely honest, I don't. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Every location, every state, I've spoken with many officers in different states, have different grade of fentanyl going around. This is not a pharmaceutical grade fentanyl that we're out here dealing with. I've read comments of, oh, I've had nurses do this, or my sick grandma. This isn't the fentanyl that the doctors are.
it's funny because like street level fentanyl that cops are supposedly dealing with, yeah, so are EMTs. They would be fucking dying as well. You know what I mean? So are nurses. Like, if a little crumb of fentanyl is that fucking deadly, who do you think is dealing with the victims that you are, or the people that you're locking up? Who's touching them? Who's around them? Also, the idea that like street level fentanyl is somehow like a higher grade than like pharmaceutical fentanyl is insane. You're literally talking about shit that's like, baked with baking powder. Okay. Yeah, I said hentanol. Street level hentai is killing cops. Exploding milk porn. Okay.
They're giving your sick grandma.
Yeah.
This isn't the same as a fentanyl patch. This is a grade of fentanyl that is created.
Yeah, that's precisely. It's not a fent patch, which is why you can't get fucking subcutaneous poisoning from it. That's like kind of the entire point. Yes. If you had a fent patch, then you could make an argument potentially, but even then it's like very, very unlikely.
By street chemists who are constantly trying to go that one up that their user is becoming tolerant.
Or is it not subcutaneous, right? It's like, or what is it called? The fucking what is it called? Like through touch. Transdermal? No, I mean, would subcutaneous not work here? Sug on these nuts, Hasanabi? Wait, really? Is that how you do it? Sug on these nuts? That's so good. Subcutaneous is an injection that's technically under the skin. Never mind. I'm wrong. If Fent was as strong as she said and could OD through the skin, she'd be fucking dead. Yeah.
When that user becomes tolerant to something, you have to find that one up. There has been fentanyl that we have tested that come back with horse tranquilizer in it. And I could say that honestly
I'm confused as to why cops would be spreading this propaganda. That's a great question, and I will tell you exactly why. He already delivered it perfectly in the beginning of the video, but I'll deliver it now once again. There's two reasons. One, because cops love creating victimhood narratives so they can act like they're, the brave crime stoppers that are constantly facing, fierce dragons out there in the fucking streets, and not a bunch of like fat pencil pushers who have insane amounts of power that they love exercising on the powerless. That's another way that you can also justify additional budgets. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, they're dealing with a super dangerous drug. We got to get more money. The second reason is the war on drugs narrative. Obviously, drugs have to be considered bad, terrifying, dangerous. Every single type of drug, from marijuana, which we call marijuana as a consequence of the fucking war on drugs, as a matter of fact, has had this level of like bad rep that takes years and years and years of fighting against to finally get to a point of legalization, so that like the mass consumer has a better understanding of what it is. Like, literally, weed is considered to be like something that black and brown people consume for the longest time, and that it was, that it would make people dangerous and angry and violent and prone to violent outbursts and shit like that. It's like totally fucking ridiculous. Okay? So it's basically the exact same thing here, but they're doing it for fentanyl because that's the new thing. Because, hey, listen, weed is now pretty much legal everywhere. Reefer madness. Exactly. Yeah. The only thing I'm violent against when I'm fucking smoking pot is a bag of Cheetos, okay? Or an entire box of cookies that features multiple smaller boxes in them that feature multiple servings. Like I'm talking 35 servings a box, and I'm eating like multiple boxes of those.
But y'all don't believe what I'm saying anyway, so I don't know why.
Well, I do. I mean,
Bro,
that's
don't
facts,
compare weed
though.
to fent,
That's
bro.
not-
Fent kills people. No, but the fucking counter against weed is exactly the same. Yes, fentanyl overdoses happen quite fucking frequently. Yes, a big part of the fentanyl overdoses unfortunately happen as a consequence of oversubscribing opiates to a massive population of Americans who are desperately seeking some kind of quick, short solution to pain management. It's also been backed, and this is documented, by pharmaceutical producers who pushed opiates onto the American population. All of that stuff is true, especially, and then you turn around and you decide to no longer serve people that opiates after they have already been completely addicted to it. So people go to the street to be able to get their fix. And then it's much cheaper. And oftentimes that's unfortunately laced with fentanyl, which is significantly more powerful than heroin. And then people get, people die, people overdose. Fentanyl is very dangerous. Do not misunderstand me. But when weed and the reefer madness was originally starting, they would say the same shit, okay? Even though it's not true for weed. Also, when people realized it's not true for weed, they turned around and they said it's a gateway drug to opiates, because people were like, wait a minute, when I get high, I just want to fucking lay down and watch something on the couch. So then, because more people started using it, because more people were like just smoking weed and didn't give a shit, okay, because weed is pretty fucking dope, ultimately. I mean, it's great. Then they decided it's just a gateway drug. A gateway to what? Just better vibes in general? I don't know. But, it's still a Schedule 1 narcotic. Yeah, I mean, shouts out to Brandon for that.
That's not people debate it, but that's fact. And you're speaking to analogs, though, because like fentanyl is fentanyl. There's carfentanil. There's a bunch of different analogs of this, which are far stronger. So yes, that's a fact. There's also trank dope, which is kind of what you're referencing, to where it has xylazine in it. And that's...
And law enforcement, and as a cop, I'm telling...
Bro, she's about to be like, you suspiciously know too much about drugs. What's your location? I'm coming over right now.
telling you that it's still classified under a Florida state statute as fentanyl, regardless of what else it has in it. Unless it has another controlled substance that has its own subsection, it is still classified under fentanyl. It would still be considered a fentanyl possession, a fentanyl overdose. Whether it has the other things mixed in on top of it. Because we cannot prove, hey, it's got 20% of this. There is no way for me to prove that. There is no way for a state attorney. There is no way for us to prove that, of what is in what. When you think of fentanyl, when it first started becoming a thing, when people were using it on the streets, and Narcan became a thing, it took one Narcan to get people out of overdoses. I can tell you, in the area that I work in, it takes 4 to 5 Narcans to get a normal, avid user out of an overdose, because of the things that people are mixing in on the streets. I can't tell you everything that was in that fentanyl that I was dealing with that night. I never even got the chance to test it on the side of the road because I never got to leave the scene.
Yeah, I mean, what you're speaking on is objective facts. So I'm not going to sit here and combat that. The thing that I'm saying that I just want you to acknowledge, because I'm acknowledging what you're saying.
I don't know if that's true. Is that true that like if you're taking incredibly powerful opiates, Narcan doesn't work? Like one hit of Narcan doesn't work, so you need multiple? I don't think that's true, is it? Some people are saying yes. Potentially? Okay. Narcan wears off faster than the drug? You need multiple, but if you're ODing on something else too, like a benzo, Narcan won't work?
I'm respecting what you're saying. Is that, do you understand that because this is you, that you do have a responsibility to try to put out some clarity when it comes to this?
That's my responsibility. I didn't have a responsibility to let this out. Because of HIPAA, I never had to let this out. My responsibility ended when I showed y'all what I went through. I got no benefit out of what happened.
Because of HIPAA? The fuck? Bro, why do people talk about HIPAA when they're revealing their own personal medical shit? There is no HIPAA violation. That's not like a thing. Okay? You're such a fucking cop, dude. Leave it up to a cop to not understand the law. That doesn't even fucking pertain to them, by the way. Cops are so bad at knowing the law that they fuck up other people's laws too. Like, you're not a medical professional, okay? There is no law that stops you from revealing your own personal medical information, okay? You can just say whatever the fuck you want about your own personal medical record, okay? It's just that, like, your nurse or your doctor can't reveal your medical information without your prior consent. That is, like, fucking weird. I don't understand it. It is, yeah, it's just like, it's for records keeping. What the fuck? Finally, I can admit it. I'm a diabetic. Oh, you're going to jail. You're going to fucking jail, criminal. That's right. You just violated HIPAA, baby. And you're going to jail, criminal scum. All right, take that 1 second time out and be excited that that's all I gave you.
That person faces no extra charges from me. That person, I already had enough to take that person to jail. I benefited nothing. So I don't have a responsibility to do anything. My responsibility ended when I let the media release that video in hopes of saving other people, in hopes of another cop not making the mistake of, hey, I might have touched my face. Make sure you don't do that. Hey, you might be dealing with somebody who's overdosing on fentanyl and running up and trying to help them. And while you're doing whatever and you wipe your face or whatever the case may be, you could be exposed. That was where my responsibility ended.
So, but isn't your responsibility to serve and protect all people, not just cops? Like,
what part of you might be going to help somebody who overdosed and become exposed were you not understand? Like that?
No, look, you don't have to be salty. Look, the thing is that what do you not understand about when you tell people that you can OD from passively touching fent, that it messes them up to where they can't administer naloxone effectively, to where they wouldn't even, they can freeze up and have a response that's driven from anxiety. You know what I mean? Like, I get where you're coming from. You're gonna.
I mean, this conversation should have ended when he was like, "What's your toxicology report?" Then, like, show us the toxicology report, and if it says that you had a significant amount of fentanyl in your bloodstream, that means that you just, you ate fentanyl, lady. That's it. You fucking took it. So now tell us how you took it. I don't think you can just like, I don't think you would overdose off of like accidentally having like a fucking little microfiber touch fentanyl and then you like rub it on your nose and then you smell it or something. Russian nerve agents aren't even as effective as this hog kryptonite. You think if this was even possible, they'd be using it. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, if you want to shut down an entire precinct, you just have to have a bag of fent, dude. It's over. They'll immediately panic.
You're going to obviously look at it through the lens of like servicing your coworkers and shit like that. But it's like, what it really comes down to is that this has a bigger effect that I just don't think that you're acknowledging. And I think that it doesn't, I disagree. I mean, I get where you're coming from, saying that your responsibility ends there, but not when we're in an opiate epidemic, not when, like, the thing is that I think both of us probably agree when it comes to a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like when it.
Holy shit, I know this lady. I tailor their clothes all the time. Lamafael, what the fuck's going on? Shut the fuck up. You tailored this woman's clothes and you didn't know that she was like in a high profile fentanyl overdose situation? A fake high profile fentanyl overdose? I don't believe that.
It comes to the prevalence of this, when it comes to just, how crazy it is. But we don't need to speak about it from a place of propaganda in order to create this sense of fear that is just going to render people ineffective in emergency situations. Like I would argue that it would cause issues in that area, and that it has been disproven. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the most prevalent case where the video of the cop that's like falling back, that's 100% debunked and disproven. So if, I would I would like make a video and go live and say the opposite if you were here with a toxicologist report and you were 100% confirming that this happened. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's tricky because, as I mentioned, I like to honor people's lived experience, but just it's concerning to me that you're someone who is a provider ultimately for people with substance use disorder and people who are maybe not with substance use disorder that are experimenting or whatever. But it's like, I just don't get the vibe of like not understanding that this is like a bigger
She still got the pink badge too.
issue. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Okay,
it's a lot.
I gave you the rundown of what happened. I gave you the same thing that I provided to the news. So I owe you nothing. I owe nobody anything.
Bro, what the fuck? She went on a live stream with this dude to get her shit wrecked harder than fentanyl wrecked her shit, okay, supposedly. And now she's like, I owe you nothing. It's like, yeah, you don't. So why are you live still with the fucking TikToker? And that's because she's a fucking media cop, okay? It's like part cop behavior, part you know, her being, I guess, like this weirdo where she thinks that, you know, she could fucking outspeak like a random guy on the internet. She literally thought she could keep up with a random guy on the internet. Guess what? She can't.
Anything more.
That's what happens when you have like unlimited awesome amounts of power, including being able to fucking kill someone who's unarmed without any sort of scrutiny whatsoever. And that leads you into falsely assuming that you can deal with this thing too.
Nothing from this other than hoping that not only civilians, because again, Narcan is available anywhere now. I can tell you in Florida, you can go to a Walgreens and you can get Narcan. That is available to anybody. I can tell you the same way I told the news.
This is unrelated. Yes, it's true, but what the fuck does that have to do with your situation individually?
It's the same way I'll tell citizens on the street. I suggest everybody should carry Narcan because you never know what can happen. That was my intention of getting the story out there in hopes of saving people who could possibly be exposed.
But you didn't overdose on fentanyl. He's like, Narcan's everywhere out there. It can save lives, including what? Like a fucking, it saved your life in this circumstance because you didn't actually overdose on fentanyl. I think that's.
In any way, not saying how they can be exposed. In any way, Narcan saved a life. Narcan saved mine. That is
No,
my
it
statement
didn't.
on it. I'm not asking you to agree. You're more than welcome to have your opinion, and that's fine. Everybody who's on this chat is more welcome to have their opinion. That's it. So I said my part on it. I hope that you kind of got some insight on mine. I understand, and I heard yours as well. So I think that kind of concluded that. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. I mean, I would love it if you could just give more information on this at some point. And because like I said, if this is true and 100% proven, then this does need to be put out there. But I just, look, again, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Like, we obviously butted heads, but I feel like I did my best to listen.
I will completely disagree with you. You're entitled to your opinion.
She's like, I disagree with you. We did not butt heads. Also, what is your location? I just need to know. I want to know, what is your location?
I'm entitled to how this incident happened, and that's it. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your evening and continue your life.
All right.
Like, listen, bro, listen. Fucking nobody's saying that fentanyl is unserious as a drug, okay? It is very serious. Kills a lot of people. But what these cops are doing is taking a drug that is already fucking super deadly, okay? And turning it into something it's not, with the hopes that, like, people are terrified of it and continue justifying the incredible criminal actions that they take against people. And I mean, like, the cops' actions are criminal in this circumstance, okay? Which is ironic because it prevents further treatment of addicts. The war on drugs is a continuation of the never-ending cycle of violence, because the war on drugs itself criminalizes addicts and criminalizes addiction, which makes it impossible for addicts to get fucking adequate treatment. That's why it's bad.